It's March 15th, 2020, and welcome to episode 31 of the Baby Metal Podcast. We gather in the podcast Discord servers on alternate weeks to discuss news and thoughts on the past and future projects of Baby Metal. We invite you to join us, whether you're a longtime fan or have only just arrived. I am Paul, and I am joined by Kevin.
Welcome back, everyone.
And Garrett.
Hello.
And a very special guest. We are joined this week by Darren Yamashita, a professional photographer, who will tell us a little bit about his experience with doing photography for Baby Metal shows. But so maybe we'll start just with that and do a very brief introduction. So, hi, Darren.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to start, we'll in this sort of second part of the podcast episode, we'll spend a fair amount of time with questions about just the process and all that stuff. But maybe just at the beginning here, we can do a brief introduction, since you not only have done some of the photography at these concerts, but you also know the band. So maybe you could just sort of say a little bit about how you know Baby Metal and like what's your experience with them.
Okay, well, we might want to clarify, know the band.
Yeah.
I don't know them personally or anything like that, but yeah. So I became a fan in 2014. I was part of the big group of fans that got to the Gimme Chocolate YouTube video. I thought was totally ridiculous at the time and dismissed it, although I thought it was kind of awesome. And fast forward about 8 or 10 months later, I'm sitting in Japan at the Sakura Gakuin graduation ceremony, watching a fake school do a graduation in a language I do not understand.
Fantastic.
So it went pretty quickly. So it's been an interesting ride, and I'm really enjoying what they're doing these days, and I'm looking forward to whatever they have coming up.
You know it's good when you go all the way down the foxhole and find the pink flag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty far, pretty fast. So we can identify, but still. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we'll talk quite a bit more with you about just sort of like all of the stuff surrounding your interactions with the concerts and so forth. And I think before that, there are some news things, that have happened of late. And actually, there would have been almost enough to talk about by itself. But we'll kind of speed through some of that, I guess. But, feel free to join in on the conversation as we talk through these various things.
I'll see what I can do.
All right, so I'll just jump right in. We have I've split this into non-magazine news and magazine news, because there actually is kind of a lot of magazine news.
The magazine blitz continues.
Yeah. So the first, I mean, it feels like whenever we record, the oldest news feels super old. Like this barely feels like news now, but since we recorded, the shows are being postponed, and the Metal Galaxy World Tour in Asia shows are postponed. Those would have been pretty soon, about a week. They would have started in about a week. So March 22nd to April 3rd. As far as I know, there's nothing other than that they're postponed to who knows when.
I believe you're correct. I haven't seen anything about rescheduled dates or anything like that.
Yeah. They were, even before that, they were going to play at Knotfest, but Knotfest as a whole got canceled. And this seemed sort of even more noteworthy earlier, before the whole world was postponed. So,
right.
I mean, it's at this point kind of crazy to think that they would have even gone on. But so I think, as we said last time, that, their schedule was actually relatively good for this, in that there's a pretty big break after those shows until the next thing. So the next thing that we know of is Rock am Ring and Rock im Park in Germany, June 5th to 7th. And as far as I know, that's too far out for anyone to sort of make a call on. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, we were wondering last time if what's going on in the world was going to affect anything. And sure enough, here we are.
Yeah, I think they had a pretty long run of never having anything canceled, but it would have been, it would have been impossible to get past this. So,
yeah, impossible and irresponsible to go forward at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's been a long string of stuff that has happened for their concerts as well. I mean, with the tsunami and the fires at the forum, outside the forum. So things have gotten close to being canceled, but nothing like this.
Yeah,
that's true.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that actually, but it's true. Like the beginning of the tour was in danger.
Right.
That seems like a long time ago.
It really does.
But okay, so in potentially more uplifting news, we got a couple of things. We got a trailer for the Forum DVD.
We did.
And Blu-ray. That was pretty cool. Did you guys watch it?
I did.
Of course.
It's great.
What the behind the backstage badassery walking out to the stage shots are pretty compelling.
Yeah, those looked good. Honestly, that was the part that I wanted. Like, I didn't care so much about the rest of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those are the most exciting 3 seconds I've ever watched.
It was well put together. What was it? The BNN or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was. They changed the CNN logo to BM. Which I told you, these people are comedians. It's all this is. It's just. But anyway, yeah. So, and I think there was some information released about the store bonuses when you buy the Blu-ray and DVD, and I don't think that information was around before. So, if you buy, so obviously if you buy the one edition, that has to come from Smart. But if you buy one of these other ones, like from, I forget actually what the places are, but like Tower and HMV and stuff, they'll have individual things like a sticker or a postcard or a clear file or something that comes along. Did you guys look at these things? I'm clearly my memory is sort of poor on this.
I did look at these things and then got instantly annoyed that the things that are cooler are things that do not come in the one edition that I paid more for.
I think all pre-orders come with a poster from wherever.
Something like that.
But yeah.
But like the lanyard would have been kind of cool. Some of the other gifts would have been kind of cool, but I have no desire to buy multiple copies of the Forum to get them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't even really want to count how many copies of Metal Galaxy I have, but it's quite an absurd number. And I don't really want to start doing that again. But it's cool though. And I like the fact that the Forum is not the one only. I mean, like, it is possible to buy it. I mean, it's still, I think, only sold in Japan, but, or at least as far as we know. So they'll ship it, of course, but.
Right.
Anyway, when is it? I didn't write it down, but I think it's May 13th. Is that right?
That sounds correct.
Middle May. So a couple weeks after Fox Day.
Yeah.
Another thing that happened was there was a WoW, just as we are recording now, WoW played a live selection, Odyssey to the Metal Galaxy. That was an hour. And there's not much to say about it, really. I kind of skimmed through it. I wasn't sort of watching as it happened. But it was basically just a compilation of some of the stuff from the Yokohama show, and then some of the stuff from the Forum. And then at the very end, they had a little bit from the SSA and Osaka-jo Hall, the Dada Dance specifically. So it's like, basically it looked to me like it was the music video minus the Forum footage.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch it. I just saw the songs that were featured.
Well, anyway, so I think basically just the main new things in that were the little movies that they show where it zooms in on Japan and zooms in on the US, and then the WoW special edit of Dada Dance that they had at the end.
Right.
And actually, one thing that I meant to check and I didn't is whether I believe that the audio is live. Because I'm not sure, actually, whether it's just...
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't know. It didn't sound any different, but I wasn't paying so much attention. So I hope it at least was live from one of those shots, but of course it's intercut from different shows. So
was this thing planned before they canceled their Asia dates? This WoW supercut?
I don't know. I don't remember. I kind of thought so. I mean, but I don't remember actually. Like, we knew about this. I think we knew about it when we recorded last time.
Did we? Because it feels like it snuck up on me. And I was just wondering if this is something they decided to put together because they're canceling dates left and right.
Could be. Though it may have been Wow that wanted it. I don't know. I don't know who wants these things more.
Yeah, right.
That actually relates a little bit to something from the magazine news.
Onward.
So I'll move on. A quick plug to the BABYMETALnews.com site that has there's a kind of like nice roundup of all of the magazines from, I think, February and March. So you can follow a link that we will provide, I believe. But so just at the end of the previous episode, we were talking a little bit about this article in Big Issue North, but we couldn't remember what it was. It had just come out at that point, but so this is a magazine that is, let's see, it's a charity organization that produces this magazine for the homeless or vulnerably housed vendors to sell to earn income. So that's the sort of place in society that this magazine is. And they had actually featured, so they have a new issue that has Baby Metal on the cover and an interview with them. And they actually had one before in July 2016. And it's currently sold out. But they did, not too long ago, they did a new run of that one. So basically, once they get done sort of selling it on the street and it becomes a back issue, there are at least a few that you can order for shipping online. And there's a pretty funny thing actually in the sidebar of it, of the current one. So I will sort of read over it quickly because I just thought it was kind of funny. And it was the thing that connected to the Wow and Who Wants It.
Sure.
But they said Baby Metal first took our cover in 2016 when they met Big Issue North designer and self-appointed movies and metal music expert Mark Wheeler at Download Festival this summer. Okay, so no one at Big Issue North had ever heard of them before Wheeler convinced us they were worthy of the cover, but soon orders were coming in from beyond our borders. We even sold a copy as recently as November last year, over 3 years since it was released. I wonder if it was to me. It's possible. But anyway, where does it say this? Well, anyway, somewhere it says that this is basically like the best-selling back issue that they've ever had, this 2016 one. Or it's actually the number 2. The Felix the Cat one was the first one. So it's the third. There are 2 Felix the Cat ones that are,
of course,
that are beating it. But anyway.
Is that a group or is that actually the Felix the Cat, the cartoon?
That's a good question. I am assuming it's the cartoon.
I had no idea what it was, so thank you for clarifying that it's a cartoon.
Yeah. Interesting. But anyway, so apparently, this Big Issue North got an interview with them, and it's been a total success for them. So they've done it again. They have another article, and in fact, actually, their interview is pretty good. So they ask questions that elicited sort of interesting stuff from them. So Kevin, you were trying to describe this last time. I don't know if you want to try again.
Sure. I will try again. So from Sue, I feel that the songs that we have been performing for years and the way we deliver the message has changed. There were charms and the characteristics of teen years. We always search for the best performance that fits our age. That we can't do the same thing that we did 10 years ago. Of course, some people still do not like our music. I want to tell them to please try to see our show. We tend to be judged by our look, but I want them to judge after they see our performance.
That's pretty cool.
Truer words have never been spoken, in my opinion. Also from Sue, with the change of one note, the balance of a whole song can be changed. If the main melody is changed, we redo the rhythm, redo the guitar, we repeat delicate changes until we find the best sound. If the song leans towards one genre too much, it's not a baby metal song anymore. So we are careful about that balance as well. And you're right, this is something I was trying to remember last time we recorded, because we were wondering about how involved they are in the production of all this music. And that last quote I read, I think, is the most interesting one, because it at least leans itself to make us believe that they are pretty involved in the production of the music.
Yeah, yeah, and they certainly are thinking of it as a team effort as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're testing and seeing what works and what doesn't work, stuff like that.
Well, and I do like, I like the fact that they are considering it kind of the same way I am, and that it's the thing that all these songs mostly have in common is the fusion aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Kaguro. But Well, actually, I suppose in the name of too. That's also fairly, unfused.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting because, way back when they came out, it really felt like Koba was doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing was getting done until he put his stamp on the final product, Now it sounds like there's a lot more collaboration going on with who, hopefully it's the girls, but, it could be the other musicians or anybody like that. But yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a one-man show like it sounded like back in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, we've definitely heard stories, heard in the sense of read somewhere. Now I can't quite remember, but see our Koba episode. But, where it was really, there was just a lot of back and forth on, I think it was, might have been Megitsune or maybe it was IDZ or something that just went back and forth like, 35 times or something like that to be tweaked between the composer basically and Koba.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let's see. Okay, so Young Guitar and Kerrang are also both getting in on this, continuing to sort of trickle out content so that we have to keep buying more and more of these.
You have to keep buying more and more of these.
Yeah. So Young Guitar, April 2020, has Baby Metal on the cover again. So it's actually not that different from the previous cover. It features them and the guitars again.
Right.
And it has the scores for Kagero and actually also Road of Resistance, which I thought was kind of interesting. They went back. So if you were into scores, there are those. And I think that the other thing that they did is they took advantage of the fact that a large amount of Galactic Empire happened to be nearby. And so they also feature Galactic Empire in a report on the Kami Band equipment and some other stuff, live and gear report on Legend Metal Galaxy. So it looks good. Young Guitar's done a pretty good job, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious to know if the Road of Resistance score is the same as the one that Yamaha published earlier, because that was published before.
Good question.
Yes. Nobody knows the answer, but
no, we do not.
And then Kerrang, they continue to do little things. They have March 7th, 2020 issue. They have a new interview and photos. Baby Metal access all areas is what it says on the cover. They have 4 pages.
That's clickbait. That's clickbait if I've ever heard it in my life.
Yeah, well,
yeah, maybe.
I don't know if magazines have clickbait, but
what's behind their red curtain?
Yeah. Well,
cake.
Yes. Coconut cake.
Yeah. So they basically have 4 pages, and actually there was also the real clickbait was the other thing they published that was sort of in conjunction with the release of this, which was the 13 of the most diehard fan bases in rock. And Baby Metal is number 13 on that list. I don't know if it's ranked or whether it's actually just there. But what's funny is that the link says 12 of the most diehard fan bases. So it's like they published the article and then they stuck Baby Metal in and made it 13.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be acknowledged. They know that. They know that we buy their magazines.
Yes.
Some of us buy 2 of each. So Metal Hammer is gonna have a Japan edition. So Baby Metal is in volume 1, where they're going to reprint. They're basically reprinting the thing that was in the UK Metal Hammer. So they're going to translate it into Japanese, and I'm hoping that we get a translation into English of that, just because it would be funny.
Just to go backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. That one I think personally I'm going to skip because, yeah.
It's okay. I'll allow it.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. No problem.
And then the last one, this one is pretty strange, and I only kind of understand it, but there's a literary magazine called Tanka, and there's a poet, Ryuichi Tsuji, I guess, has a short poem in it called The End of the Resistance. And the poet actually tweeted something saying, something effectively like, this is probably the first time that the word Baby Metal has been engraved on a literary magazine of the sort, found in bookstores nationwide. So you can get it. It's 970 yen, released March 25th. But it's a short poem that mentions Baby Metal.
That is interesting.
Buy it.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's
cool. Will it be more or less cryptic than the graphic novel?
Very good question.
Can you get more cryptic?
We're about to find out. Buy it on March 25th.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I wonder if they'll see a spike, and I think that would be pretty funny.
I think they almost certainly will.
So, and this is why I think that maybe Wawa wanted to do the compilation thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Okay. Anyway, so I guess that's basically the news, both non-magazine and magazine now. Oh yeah. I put in a feedback notes. We shortly after our previous episode on Song 4 was released, we were admonished for accepting the possibility that there were only 3 teams in the Tokyo Dome Song 4. It's true, there were 4. There were 4. I went back and checked the video.
Nice.
It's although Kevin, you were right that the stage only had 3 protrusions. So I mean, like, you know, obviously they didn't do all 4 each on a individual end, but it would have been weird. It's true, it would have been weird to have only 3.
Yes, I suppose in hindsight that is quite strange.
All right. Anything else anyone wanted to say about the news or speculate about the future before we move on?
I feel like we're in a nice little lull. I think with the virus that's going around, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of action for the next little bit.
Yeah, right. I guess the speculations about the future are kind of on hold.
Yeah, in my opinion. We can pray for something special, but, you know.
Well, to the extent that it is even possible, it would be not so great to draw a crowd anywhere. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that means more interviews, more articles. We'll see. Hopefully they have more time to do stuff like that. Well, we do know from, I don't know, I forget now which magazine it was in, but we do know that they do Skype interviews. Because
True.
What was, I think it was a follow-up interview they did, and they did it over Skype. And they even sort of described the fact that they were like not in costume and Kobo was lurking around in the back and stuff. But
well, hey, Amuse, if you're listening, we record every 2 weeks. We're available.
Oh yeah.
We do interviews now.
Yep, that's true.
We got Skype.
We can handle Skype. Yeah. We can even handle questions in advance. But, okay. Well, yeah. So now actually, maybe now we can transition to the the main topic of the show, which is to talk to Darren here about. Well, we have a whole list of questions, so but they are the sort of obvious things. But I mean, I guess the first thing would be maybe to get a little bit deeper into really just the Darren's background, or your background, depending on whether you are Darren listening to this now or not. But yeah, maybe you could just sort of talk about like how you got into photography, and what sort of led you to make that kind of like a career.
It was around 2010. I had stopped. I used to be a basketball coach for like a youth church league, the junior high and high school level. And I decided to stop coaching. That was 24 years worth of that, and needed to do something else. So I was always interested in photography, but I thought, well, maybe I can take pictures of some of these kids, and nobody comes out to take pictures of them and share them with the families and stuff like that. So bought a camera, bought a 50 millimeter lens, figured that's all I need to take pictures of sports, isn't it? And quickly understood that was totally not going to happen. So within 2 months, I upgraded my camera body. Another couple months, I upgraded my lenses and started shooting sports indoor. And then at one point, one of my friends asked me to shoot some high school football. They were going to the playoffs, so they went out there and took some shots. And one of the photographers said, "Hey, if you're interested in shooting, I'm shooting for this group, and we're always looking for photographers." So yeah, sure. So started shooting for the company was called Sports Worlds, and basically we would just go out and shoot tons and tons of pictures of football and other sports at the high school level. Did that for a little while, and then they went under, and I went looking for somebody else to shoot for, and it's a publication called The Ultimate Sports Guide that covered college and pro sports. So I started shooting for them, and at one point I was covering a Sharks game, and one of my in my previous life, I was a sports card owner shop.
Ooh,
so
it's a whole different rabbit hole.
Yes, that was 20 plus years of buying and selling sports cards. But one of the customers that we used to have is a photographer for Getty. So at the Sharks game, I ran into him. So, we were talking, and he was surprised that I was there, obviously, because the last time he saw me was giving him a pack of cards. So he introduced me to one of the USA Today guys, and we started talking and kept in touch. I'd run into him from time to time. And after a couple of years, hopefully people seeing my stuff, I hooked on with USA Today Sports. So I'm still shooting for Ultimate Sports Guide. I'm shooting for a couple other people, but I'm also shooting USA Today as well. That's been about a year and a half of that. And wow. It's not really working out right now, seeing how I had 13 different games to shoot between up until the end of this month. Mm-hmm. And now I have 0.
Right.
So got a lot of time to talk to you guys about Baby Metal now.
Yeah.
Silver linings, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And just so people who may not know, what is Getty?
Getty is a photo agency, and they're the biggest one. I'm guessing they bought up all sorts of different collections and agencies and stuff. So basically, the news outlets have a subscription to Getty, so they can use their photos for their stories online or in their newspapers, et cetera, et cetera.
Got it.
I don't actually know too much about what it's like to be a photographer, but is it, I mean, do you consider yourself kind of freelance, or are you like, what is your, it sounds like you're connected to a couple of different organizations, but that's just because they sort of get first pick or something, or?
Independent contractor.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we have USA Today has a group of photographers. So I'm one of them, and being there only for about a year and a half, I'm still pretty low on the totem pole. Mm-hmm. But I've been able to get out and shoot and do the job like I was always hoping to do when we started getting into this. So it's been fun.
Cool. Do they direct you to certain things? I mean, do they send you on assignment or whatever, or is it?
Yeah. Okay. So we always have a monthly assignment. Actually, I have to fill that out once we get off of this on what dates I'm free next month. So, but yeah, I get a schedule, and those are the games I'll be covering for that month.
Hopefully there's games to cover.
Exactly. Yeah. That schedule is probably going to be pretty light next month.
So how did you then go from sports to concerts?
So concert photography was always pretty interesting as well. I think that's another one of those things that everybody likes to do. The sports is another one. Mm-hmm. There was a J-pop festival, and this was in San Francisco in 2014. And I thought, oh, well, it's an outdoor festival. There's a number of groups from Japan that are coming over. So I thought it'd be a good time to go over there and see if I could do some concert photography. So I contacted one of the Japanese American newspapers in the area in San Francisco and asked them if they wanted some photos. So they got me a photo pass, and out I went. And it was fun.
That's awesome.
Didn't really know what I was doing, but, tried to get what I could. And then, that was also after the time I had discovered Baby Metal. And when Baby Metal announced that they were coming to LA, like, oh, well, this could work out.
Starting to see the benefits read through.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I contacted another Japanese American newspaper down in LA, the Rafu Shimpo, asked them if they were looking for a photographer for the show. So they didn't know anything about it at the time. So being a fan kind of helped me get a jump on anybody else that was interested, I guess. And that's where that started. That was my first actual show in a concert hall, in the indoors with all the bright lights and photo pit and everything.
That's wild. So you just up and cold called newspapers basically and said, "Hey, I would like to shoot for you. Can I go shoot for you? Send me a pass."
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. I figured the main newspapers in LA, the LA Times, are probably not going to be interested in that. But I knew people at both newspapers.
Oh, okay.
Dealing with them before with sports photos.
Got it.
That helped out a little bit. They actually knew what kind of work I could do. So that definitely helped get me in the door.
And actually, so if this is leading up to the July 31, 2014 article on Rafu Shimpo, you actually wrote the copy as well, right?
Yeah. So I said, "Do you need me to write up something?" And like I said, they didn't know anything about the group, so they said, "Yeah, sure." So I had to write up a article as well, and that was, I guess, as I recall, my first article that I ever wrote as well. So a lot of firsts here with Baby Metal.
That's awesome, though. I mean, like, those of us who do read the various articles that come out in all the little publications about these shows, it's definitely nice to see some written by people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That was the good thing about that, is I knew that's the subject, right? If they had sent me out on my own covering somebody I don't know, that's going to be a lot tougher.
Yeah.
I love the title for that article, by the way. Cradle Rockers.
Yeah, and I would love to say I came up with it, but I did not, and I thought it was genius when I did see it.
Yeah, that's really clever. So I know, because somebody out there is wondering, what's in your bag when you go to shoot a concert?
So I'll always have two cameras. I'll have and the two lenses that I always bring will be the 24-70 2.8 and the 70-200 2.8. Mostly because a lot of these concerts are going to be in dark arenas, even though they have some bright lights. They're not always on, so you're going to need some fast glass in order to get some decent shots.
Is that what the 2.8 means?
Yeah, 2.8 aperture. So it lets that type of lens lets in a lot more light than some of the other lenses, like some of the kit lenses and the consumer type DSLRs are going to have a tough time in low light. So any camera is going to do great if you have light. Once the low light comes down, that's when you need better glass. That's when you need better camera bodies. I found that out, like I said, after the first time that I shot sports, indoors in a gym, in a high school gym, wondering why none of my shots were coming out.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's also pretty fast paced, but in both types of photography, right? I mean, like the subjects you are trying to capture are moving quickly.
Yeah, it's very similar, to sports, between sports and concert photography. Baby Metal is a little different than your typical metal group, because they're doing a lot more moving around than a lot of these other bands. So you definitely need to make sure you have some fast glass as well.
Sure.
So yeah, most of the time every time that's what I'll have. I'll also bring, I've brought my fisheye. I'll bring 11-24, and then also if they don't have a photo pit, they usually put us back in the back or at the soundboard. So then I bring a 400. So that will give me a lot more length. Sorry if this is all like, nerd camera talk here.
It's okay. But there's somebody out there who's enjoying this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one. But yeah, that really helps out a lot to try to get some nice close-ups when you're not even close to the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So was the first time you saw Baby Metal live when you were actually the photographer there, or did you actually see shows before that?
No, that was the first time they were in the U.S. So,
that's wild.
Yeah, that was April or May is when the first album came out, right? Somewhere around there, and they had the Budokan show around that time as well. Then, yeah, they came to the U.S. in July. I think it was July, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
July 2014. Seeing
right.
how July 31st was the date of the Cradle Rockers article there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's excellent. Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that occurred to me about that is that, and you probably at least had seen some of their live performances in other ways before. So you kind of knew what to expect, like where they were going to move and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I do with all the groups that I try to cover. Baby Metal is really good about that because so many people take fan cams, and maybe Baby Metal generally does not change their set list.
Mm-hmm.
So I will go in, watch as many fan cams as I need to. I'll watch official videos as well if they have some choreography there. And then I just kind of write down some notes to figure out, okay, this pose, this part of the song, it's going to be better to be on this side of the stage rather than the other side because, their arms are moving in front of their face over here, where if I'm on this side, you're going to see them, they're going to turn and look towards you rather than away from you, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll have a little list of stuff that, where I want to be. Unfortunately, with Baby Metal, that hasn't worked out too well because each time that I've gone there, gone to shoot them, there's been a lot of photographers there, and I can't move anyway. So
oh, interesting.
It's been a little difficult. The one in San Francisco, I knew that I wanted to be right there in the middle, so I got the middle spot right away.
Mm-hmm.
But for Megitsune, I wanted to get the hangout shot from Sue,
right? And
I knew that that I'm not getting that past Baby Metal management, but it was a personal photo that I needed to get.
I respect that.
Thank you.
I got the same. I did the same thing in Kansas City.
So I moved out of my middle spot, over all the way to the right, so I could get a shot of Sue. The hangout was a little anticlimactic. It wasn't all that involved. No tongue sticking out or anything like that, but I did get a shot of it. And then when I moved back, there was people in my spot, and more like 2 rows deep people in my spot. So I wasn't getting into the middle from that point on. But knowing what was going on, knowing the choreography as much as I could, I knew, what to look for, even though I wasn't maybe in the prime spot that I wanted to be in. Mm-hmm. So that helped a bit. And then you just shoot. I mean, some things happen that you just don't remember, or something different happens. So a lot of it is just luck as well.
Yeah. One of the things that, like, even at the very beginning when we started thinking about the possibility that you could come on and talk to us, one of the first things that I wanted to find out was sort of how you get to do the photography for this. Like well, okay, so we talked a little bit about like the cold call aspect of it, but
right, yes.
But another thing that I was curious about was that since you've done 2014 and 2019, if things had changed and sort of like, how did that process work?
For both shows, I shot for the Rafu Shimpo.
I see.
So that really didn't change. The process definitely changed on the Baby Metal side. In 2014, it was an email to Muse USA. Then they ended up eventually getting back to us, gave me some guidelines via email on what we needed to do. We needed to send them shots, and they needed to approve whatever ones before we can publish them. Mm-hmm. So they had full reign to say yes or no to any of the shots that we took. 2019 was the same way. However, there was actually we talked to their US PR, which I think was 5B, 3B, something like
5B.
that.
5B, yeah.
5B? Yeah. And they had a contract which had a lot more stuff in it than 2014 did. So, yeah, we signed that, and then went through the same process, edited photos, sent them a batch, and then they came back with approvals.
Interesting.
Yeah. At the risk of, I don't know, you're doing this again, can you give any insights on that contract you had to sign?
The contract, on what's in the contract?
Or even just sort of generally, like,
just
what
generally,
shape are these things?
Yeah.
It's not that long. It was only like 2-3 pages or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But definitely gave you some guidelines on what you need to do. I'll tell you right now, one of the things in the contract is do not discuss any of the points in this contract.
Right.
So it's going to be a little difficult for me to answer some of these next questions I'm sure that you're going to have. But I can do the best that I can. Only the Fox God Knows might come out of my mouth a couple of times, but but yeah, they do have some guidelines on who you can shoot, and the type of poses that there are. If you look at other people, the other articles that have come out online, and you see the type of photos that they end up posting, you're probably going to get a little better idea of what they're looking for and what they're approving and not approving.
Sure.
One of the things is that there are 3 people out there on the stage, and generally you don't always see individual shots of each one of those 3.
Right.
So reading between the lines there,
you can pretty much figure out what's in the contract.
Got it.
Oh, well, yeah. And I mean, I guess I was sort of interested to know whether they gave you guidance in advance. And it sounds like they did to a certain extent. I mean, so
yeah,
it's not just
2014. No, they did not. They just said that they needed the shots approved.
Right.
2019 was a lot more. And just, since the San Francisco show and the LA show came after some of the other shows in the tour, I was able to look at some of the shots that were approved at some of the other concerts.
Right.
So looking at those, I was like, okay, I see what they're trying to go with. And so I took some of my shots accordingly. And then I took a bunch of other shots that I knew weren't going to get approved, but those were more for personal and fan use.
Yeah.
Do you have a private collection hanging on your wall? Do you have a gallery?
There could very well be an iPad somewhere that I moved around and let people see. Yes, that could exist. So if somebody sees me at a show, and I may not have the iPad anymore, but I would have them on my phone that if they want to take a look, that's not a problem. This
phone may self-destruct in 30 seconds.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens after this recording.
Yeah, I could think though, I could see it actually being sort of, I mean, particularly from a kind of professional point of view, of like knowing what they're looking for ahead of time rather than having to guess from what other ones were approved is probably better.
Yeah, definitely. So. And it's this whole thing. It comes down to what are they getting out of it? But what is Baby Metal getting out of this? And they want the publicity, but they also want to make sure that the photos that are out there are up to their standards.
Sure.
So, yeah. I mean, it's a two-way street. It's not just, hey, we want some people to come out and take pictures of our concert. It's more of, we need that publicity out there. Keep us in the public eye, and make sure that what's out there is what they want to see.
Do you actually get much chance to interact with other photographers there? I mean,
a little bit
that you're sharing the photo pit with or whatever.
Yeah, it depends on. Like in 2014, we were kind of separated, and then they kind of shoved us all into the photo pit all right at the beginning. So I didn't really get to talk to too many people. I talked to more fans than I did photographers at that one. 2019, I did talk to a few of the people at the forum because we were outside. They wouldn't let us inside until just before the show started. So we got to talking a little bit.
Yeah.
I got to know the photographer from Burn Magazine that's been shooting for 30 some odd years.
Oh, wow.
And that was fun hearing from all the stories that he had. Yeah. The other people who were there, that some of them knew Baby Metal a little bit and some of them had no clue, but wanted to come and shoot.
Do you feel obligated as a Baby Metal fan to help these people out, or is it more cutthroat?
Yeah. I did, hey, they're doing these songs. Look for this, look for that. They're gonna do which one? Well, yeah, there was, like I said, there's certain individual shots you could not take. So they asked me which one or ones were the ones that they could take pictures of. So we helped that. Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's true. I guess, there was probably a time for most people when Baby Metal was new to them where you could tell who Sue was, but you weren't sure which of the other two were which.
Right.
Sure.
So I can understand this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
I guess, was there anything, the one other question that I have here in the little list of things I was going to ask was if you thought of, if there were any sort of like memorable stories or whatever that interactions between you and the fans as part of this shooting process.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, this fandom is fantastic. The first show that I went to, I went up to the guy that was the first guy in line just to see when he got there, which was, as I recall, 5 a.m.
Sounds right.
Yeah. I think most shows are like that, if not the night before. And then we got to talking a little bit, while they were in the audience waiting for the show. And I talked to that guy still. There's a bunch of people from shows and online that I talk to that it doesn't happen in most of the other concerts I go to. There, a lot of people are just kind of interested in where your shots are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the baby metal fandom, they just want to talk. They just want to talk about the group.
We're a big family here.
It's fun. Yeah. I to the point where I was giving away gifts because the first time I was like, what is this? What are you giving me? So, so I started, well, hey, I got some photos. I can make some gifts as well. So yeah, it really is a lot of fun. The fandom and going to a concert has been just a joy. It really has.
Excellent. Okay, I keep asking questions, but other people can jump in if they want. You alluded to this already, but how do you get placed? It sounds like you had a bit of freedom in 2014. How was that in 2019?
Yeah, so for just about any show, there's a photo pit. There are times when there isn't, but for the most part, you're going to have a photo pit, and pretty much first come first serve of where you're going to get to go. For somebody like Baby Metal, you kind of want to be in the middle because the choreography lends itself to being dead center.
Right.
I shot a group called Tokyo Performance Doll at one of the J-pop festivals, and I decided, we had multiple photographers there. So I was like, well, there's a couple of people in front. I'll come over to the side and shoot. Well, they have like 9 or 11 members and they're doing all these dances. And I'm sure it looks awesome if you're in the middle. But from where I was over there on the far right, I had no idea what was going on. And so kind of learned my lesson on that one. But first come, first serve in a photo pit. I've never seen where they've allowed some people in first and then the other people in later. For the Forum show, they did not have a photo pit, obviously because of the moving stage. So they put us in the back on the lower level over there to the left, kind of behind one of the circle pits. Mm-hmm. So that was the reason why the 400 comes to mind. I've shot Bandmade. They put me at the next to the soundboard. Uh-huh. And then they played in the dark, so that was not a fun show to shoot whatsoever.
You gotta hear it good though, right?
Yeah, it sounded great at the soundboard.
Yeah, it was. So a little bit later, we'll look at a little slideshow of some of the photos that you did. But there was one that showed fairly clearly where you were in the forum, and you were surprisingly far away. Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, you hope to find out in advance where you are, and very rarely do they tell you. Sometimes you get to know the day before or the day of, and sometimes you don't know until you go in. That's why you have to bring long lens if you end up getting stuck in the back. Mm-hmm. I've learned that personally as well. Been there with all the way in the back and nothing but a 70 to 200 and 3,000 fans in between me and the stage. So yeah, got to make sure that you're prepared. Uh-huh.
Maybe this is a good time then to get into some of those photos.
Sure. So these photos are courtesy of the Rafu Shimpo. Just want to let you know. And so, because a big thanks to them for allowing us to show these photos. I think personally, they've only used like 1 or 2 photos from this year's concerts, the 2 concerts that I covered. So, I mean, this is like the world premiere of some of these photos, you know. There should be some like cool music going on.
Big scoop. We got the big scoop going.
In the photo that we're looking at now, you can see that you were positioned pretty far back.
Yeah. So the at the end of the floor. So before right where the seated area starts, there's a little ADA section there on the left. And that's where we were all positioned.
So one of the things that I see there, it's a photo that has, you know, sort of a wide shot of the form. I'm in there, by the way. I'm in this photo, but I'm only a few pixels. But and at the moment, this shot, there's a lot of sort of like narrow blue lights in all kinds of crazy directions. There's flames and little red lights and things, and that sort of leads to the question that I was thinking of even before I saw this photo, which is like, how do you deal with, or what do you think of the lighting that Baby Metal uses? Because a lot of times I sort of see them, it's sort of impressive at the time, but I could imagine that a lot of this like blue and red wash that they do has got to be hard to photograph in.
Definitely. So in 2014, the first song was, you know, and like I said, it's my first indoor concert with dealing with lights. So the first song was Baby Metal Death. And for you guys and girls that have watched this either live or on some stream or on a Blu-ray or DVD, you'll notice that they play basically in red light or no light. Pretty much anything but white light. So you can imagine my kind of fear when that started going on. And for the first show, they only allowed us to shoot 2 songs. So here we are, the first song, and I've got not very much. So what can you do? Yeah, I mean, you got to shoot what you can and pray. So yeah, you know, red especially is just tough to shoot in. So, you know, especially when you get, and this is like concert photography in general. You know, obviously with a big arena show, you're going to get more of the white light and stuff from time to time. But small venues and stuff, they'll very rarely use white light a lot. You know, it's again, Bandmate didn't use white light, period. That was just, it's just the way that it is, you know. So you just deal with it. You know, one of the things that I'll use is auto ISO, mainly because the lights are changing so often. And I'm spot metering. Again, here we go with the camera nerd stuff.
That's okay.
We're spot metering, single spot, and on their face, because that's what you really want to get the exposure to. So yeah, a lot of times you'll get this green face or red face or bluish yellowy face, and that's a lot of times when I just decide, well, you know, black and white is going to look really well here.
Right.
So you're going to see, you know, some of these groups, you're going to see a lot of black and white shots, because the light just does not look flattering.
Well, I assume that there's actually, I mean, like the physics of red light probably also just make it just terrible for capturing, you know, light images. Yeah.
So cameras have a hard time with it. You know, they'll overexpose it a lot. And sometimes just wash everything way out. So, if you know the red light's coming, you could underexpose a bit, but how often are you going to know that that's what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So.
It blows my mind a little bit that Baby Metal was your very first concert that you shot professionally. Like, talk about going from 0 to 100.
That's straight to 100.
That's very true. Yeah.
I was kind of curious to know if you got the sense that they play to you at all, you know, play to the photographers in the pit.
They play to the fans, you know, you know, like I've said, I shot 3 shows for them, of them. And I haven't gotten one shot of Moa, or, you know, especially Moa. She's always the one looking around, staring right at me. Yeah. I mean, you know,
but there are plenty of fan cams that have it. So
yeah, surprisingly, right? But I'm doing a job, so it's great if I get that interaction, especially as a fan. But you can't be a fan when you're in the photo pit, especially for your first gig. So, there was a spot where Sue, was holding out the microphone to the crowd, and she was like hovering right over me. So here I am trying to take a shot as Sue, and she's basically 2 feet in front of me. And I can't just freak out and just start squealing or anything, right? Yeah, I got to get the shot. So, you have to make sure that you understand what your job is. And then, afterwards you could say, man, she was 2 feet away from me right there.
Yeah. So I think one thing that we wanted to do, I think we hadn't planned this super carefully, but is we have this slideshow, which we'll be able to see. People in the Discord can see it as we're recording this, and it'll be visible in the YouTube stream as well. So this podcast has a YouTube presence as well. If you've been listening to it only as a podcast, as an audio podcast, there's a place that you can go for these particular visuals. And I guess maybe what we should do is just go ahead and kind of like watch the little slideshow that we have of the 18 shots that you have, and then we can maybe go back and talk about specific ones.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so as we're going through it, I would say let's not silently watch them go by, because that would not be very interesting. So if you were going to comment, then
if you had world premiere music, then we wouldn't have to worry about that.
Maybe we can add that in post.
True, we can add that in post.
Okay, all right.
The trick about that is getting content flagged.
Yeah, right. So
yes.
Okay, off to the races. Here we go.
Beautiful shot.
Mm-hmm.
Lights coming down individually.
Mm-hmm.
So just to say that these are the shots that were approved by Baby Metal. For me personally, I think they're more of standard type shots, and it makes sense that those are the ones that they're going to approve. So you can't get too artsy, I guess.
Sure.
Well, you can.
Man, it's like you're right on the stage. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
White light. I'm sure you were very happy.
You. Yeah. Thankfully, that was not white light. I'll tell you that right now.
That's a great shot.
Yeah, that is good too. Yeah. I've seen. So we definitely have. Well, I'll talk more later. Let's keep watching this. I like the Shanti shot though. The flags. Here's the crazy one. I really like that photo, actually.
It's majestic.
These are 2014.
You were 2 feet away from her.
Yep.
2 feet.
It'd be really difficult to actually be productive doing this if I were me.
Yep.
That's a good photo.
That is excellent. Yeah. This one actually almost looks like a shading painting.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Moa looks jacked.
Oh, here's this one again.
Yeah, so that's a full lap.
I guess we've cycled.
We have.
Yeah, we have.
Excellent. What I was going to say, I guess that we've sort of said stuff about this already, kind of, but we've seen a lot of fairly similar photographs from a lot of people because I think of what they're willing to approve.
Right, definitely. I mean, that's the look that they're looking for. So, if you take a whole bunch of shots of crazy angles and getting interpretive with your artistry, then yeah, you may not be able to get much done.
Right.
Did we want to jump to focus our discussions around particular photos? I had, unbelievably, there are 18 photos here. I have picked 9 in my little small subset to talk about. But
okay.
Sure.
Is this number 1?
This is
that
number
would
one.
be that'd be the first one. If you start here, then they'd be in a chronological order.
Okay.
Sue's elbow is straight up iconic.
I guess we probably should sort of describe it a little bit for those few people who aren't actually looking at it. But yeah, it's Sue standing there. The thing that caught my attention was the fact that she has extended her arms, in a way that reveals how far her elbows bend.
She's typical Sue bendy elbow photo.
Yeah. You know, the YMCA sing along dance. She does the Y all the way.
Yeah.
She's a good Y.
It's funny. I think, she often wears sleeves now. And I think partly she's not letting this be visible anymore.
It's kind of sad. It's quirky. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one, I think you were Darren, you were saying something about this before. Maybe you wanted to sort of talk a little bit about how this ended up in black and white and so forth.
Well, yeah, you could probably figure out why it's in black and white. She was in red light on this one. And, it just kind of worked out that the light was falling on her hand, which was doing the kitsune sign.
Too perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That is
great, and like I said, there's things that you try to get and anticipate, and then stuff like this that just comes out. You don't know how the light's going to fall. You don't know where she's going to be exactly in that light. So yeah, it really worked out. I did bring up the shadows a bit on her hand to bring it out a little bit better. It was a little lost there in her outfit there for a little bit. So I just wanted to make sure people were seeing the key part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, her arms are pretty much bigger than mine.
And remember, we were talking before we started recording. You were surprised that this one got approved.
Yeah, because, like I said, it's not a standard shot. So when they gave the approval, the reason why there's like 7 shots from 2014 is because they gave us 4 for the Rafu Shimpo, and then another publication asked to use some of the photos, so they gave us 3 more.
Okay.
So yeah, and stuff like this, for an individual shot, I would have thought that they would want, a face visible and stuff like that. But I guess hopefully they enjoyed this one enough to approve it.
Right. Yeah. The art won them over.
Yeah, I guess.
Moa saw it and she's like, "Oh, this one looks like I can bench 200 pounds. I like it."
Let's see. Okay, the next one I think is two ahead. Yeah, I mean, so this is largely a silhouette shot, although you can really see the red in the skirt. But this is, I guess, one of the things that made me think about this one is just that this is a lighting challenge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm shooting auto ISO, so really, if I had my focus point on one of their faces, it would have been blown out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, having it off of the face, a little more on towards the edge of their silhouette, makes the camera see the light behind them more so.
Mm-hmm.
So, anytime I can get obviously when there's no light facing them, you're going to get a silhouette shot. So
sure.
you hope that, you take your focus point and just take it away from where the dark spots are to try to expose for the light.
I love the mood.
Yeah.
In this shot.
Yeah. I actually have this as my wallpaper for my desktop.
Oh, nice.
I still do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like this shot.
I can believe that. Yeah. No, it really does look like you captured the intent. Like, I mean, this is really what they were probably trying to go for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is a photo of Sue and Moa in Megitsune. And I actually really like it. The lighting is nice and all that stuff is nice. We only see Sue and Moa, but it's taken at this super strategic angle.
Yes. And that was on purpose, based on things that may be in the contract that I can't discuss.
Because there's too many feet underneath Sue there.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Well, I guess we can talk about it. Yeah. Darren doesn't have to talk about it.
Yeah.
But there's an Avenger hiding behind Sue in this one.
Yeah.
So even though you took a picture of everybody on stage, you didn't really take a picture of everybody on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
Yeah. It's sort of just at the right angle that there's not much evidence. But I mean, so when I was looking at this, I'm thinking, well, wait, how did this even happen in the show? But once you sort of parse the image, you can see what we're looking at. Which I like the photo, even all of that aside, but it's interesting because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are a few shots that I ended up taking with that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that that's sort of what they're looking for.
Just out of curiosity, the other photographers at this show, I remember that there were a bunch of you guys up front on the barrier.
Yeah, this is the Warfield.
Yeah, was anybody else thinking about this kind of stuff? Or were you kind of the only one who was planning shots in a way that, you knew that you had higher shots of being approved?
Yeah, the 2 or 3 people that I knew I've met them either on say media or in person before. They didn't know anything about Baby Metal.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, they cover a lot of the music scene in San Francisco. So
yeah,
they were there. One guy is a metal photographer, so he was a little out of his element as well, wondering what he was about to see. So, yeah, I once, like I said, I was in the middle at the very beginning. I moved over to the side, and that was the end of me being in the middle.
Yeah.
And basically every single person was in the middle.
Right.
I don't know what was happening on the left side of the pit because I couldn't see them because there were so many people in the middle. So I got as close to the middle as I could from time to time, but yeah. But this pose, I wanted to make sure to be to the right because of, like I said, things that may be in the contract.
The way the choreography may work out for you.
Correct.
But in fact, actually, they're also kind of looking that direction too. I mean, like,
yeah, right.
You mentioned in the 2014 show that you only had 2 songs before they ushered you out.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case here, right? Or did
for the Warfield show was 3.
Oh, I see.
Which is a little more standard, but usually 2 to 3 songs is standard. 2 is kind of cutting it close. I've heard people say that, sometimes it's 1 and sometimes you get to shoot more. There's other, one of the people told me that they allow you to stay in the pit until the lead singer starts sweating. And that's when it's done.
So interesting.
That could be any time. For the forum, they let us shoot 5 songs, and they weren't 5 in a row either. So the plan was to usher us in when we could shoot, and then usher us out in between songs until we can go back. And fortunately, the guy that was in charge of watching us, he said, "You know what? Just stay here. just make sure you're not taking pictures during those songs." And so we did, because we want to shoot again.
Yeah.
Right.
So we didn't get to shoot stuff like Da Da Dance and other songs that really would have been fun to shoot. But I can't complain because some of the songs that they let us shoot were great.
Sure.
I mean, one of the things that I was thinking about was there's a sort of an antagonism in a way between the desires of the photographers and the people who want to see their photography and the people who are at the barrier in the center,
Definitely. So, yeah, I try to, there's different thoughts of this. I try to make sure not to stand straight up right in front of the barrier because then I'm blocking somebody, and that somebody's paid whatever money and, to be there. And for an open floor like Baby Metal, that person stood in line for X amount of hours to get to that point.
Right.
And for me to stand in front of them, granted it's only 3 songs, but I try to make sure to kind of crouch down. But as a photographer, you also have to get your shot.
Right.
So I understand the people that have that are going to block your view a little bit. Like I said, I try to be respectful as much as possible to the people that are behind me.
Cool. Yeah, I hadn't actually thought about that even before, but I know there's a couple of festivals that we had live streams of where, you couldn't see anything at all because it was just like this gaggle of photographers in front.
Right.
But they did clear out after a couple songs. So
yes,
I didn't realize that was sort of by contract.
Yes, definitely.
So this one is interesting. This is who's that a photo of? It's Moa and an Avenger.
That's Moa. Yes.
But who?
That
Momoko?
Is it? You guys know?
Say,
I think it is.
I don't think
Yeah,
it's real.
I think it is.
I want to say Momoko.
It should be Momoko. Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
That would have been my guess. I mean, we can't see her face, and so it's not clear, but it's clearly not Sue.
Right.
Yes.
So this is an unusual photo. This is one that I am a little surprised got approved, but I guess it's basically a photo of Moa doing something, right?
Yes. So, I mean, this is the Megitsune at the beginning where they do the little fox god kiss with their hands between the two of them. So yeah, I was on the left-hand side. That's where they put us. So I figured, oh, well, at least for, this shot, I'm going to get Moa facing me rather than the Avenger. Yeah. So this will work out.
What's impressive to me about this one, and I'm going to cycle back to where you're standing when you took this.
Right.
Yeah, I know. That's unbelievable.
Right. Now, how cropped are you, if at all?
It's definitely cropped. I'd have to look at the original to figure out, but I believe Megitsune, they started a lot closer to us.
Okay.
That's right. They came out.
The shot that we had of the wide shot, the stage is pretty far back, but they came up pretty close. But yeah, I'd have to say it's been maybe the middle of the floor, so it's not close.
Right.
So definitely it's been cropped in, but also I'm using a 400 millimeter lens instead of this one, which was I think 23 millimeters what I shot this one at.
The big overview, yeah.
Yeah, the wide shot.
Blessed with white light too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Photographer, you're always looking for the light. You're always happy when they bring the white one out.
And it works well with the costume too. I mean, like it's doing the right stuff with all the little sparkly bits.
Almost Definitely. Like they planned it like that.
Almost. Yeah, I mean, even if they don't specifically play to any particular camera, that the visual, they know what they're going for. I mean, somebody's working very hard on this.
Yeah.
Very nice. This is another black and white Moa photo.
The hair.
Is this this must be sort of in motion, right? Her hair is kind of flown behind her.
Back. Yeah. I mean, I have other hair shots where hair is going crazy. None of those got approved.
Yeah.
I can understand. But yeah, you try to get some motion at some point. I mean, that wasn't the purpose of this photo. But getting motion in the hair at least gives you an idea that they're in motion in the shot.
Yeah. No, when I first saw this, I didn't realize that she wasn't basically sitting still because I kind of had noticed her hair.
So I'm guessing this was red light.
Yeah, they used a couple of different lights, and I'm guessing red is correct on this one as well.
Which is why I'm sure you went to black and white on it.
Black and white is my friend.
Yeah.
And is this another one you were surprised got approved because it's black and white?
Yeah, sort of. I thought there were other Moa photos that they would have that showed her face a little better, and also because it's black and white, again, kind of surprised that they were going to approve a black and white photo.
I guess it's a good time to ask, knowing that we can't see them, can you maybe describe some of the ones you wish were approved that you could show people, but weren't?
So
the ones that, since nobody else can see them, then they were glorious.
Yeah,
they were,
of course,
awesome.
That was the best
stuff. where my word cannot be questioned. Yeah, they were the best things I ever taken.
The eyes were super sharp. It was dynamic. Big smile.
But yeah, I mean, they're being a fan of the group, I took a bunch of other shots that I could have myself, and there were definitely the favorite ones I have of the two venues were not approved. So yeah,
let your imaginations wander, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Yes. Okay. This next one is a photo of Sue during the Gitsune. She's holding the mask, And I guess this must be part of the like call and response part.
Yeah, it is.
We all kind of remember, I think, the Dada dance was fairly frenzied. And so she wound up, her hair got kind of messed up in that process and apparently didn't get fixed going into Magitsune. So this is a great photo of her hair all like stuck in her headpiece thing. And
I have no idea why this one was approved.
That was exactly the thing that I was thinking when I wanted to focus on this one, because I love it. It's great. I mean, but it does seem like they let it through in a way that I might not have expected them to. I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I am as well. I mean, but this photo bugs me a little bit because the lighting was a little weird, so everything kind of came out brown. But the 10 or 15 seconds of this sequence, the light was a lot softer, and for some reason, the white balance ended up being kind of brown, to the point where when I was looking at the photos that we were going to use for this, I went back and changed her hair to more black. Just because I was like, I got to fix this.
Yeah, it's true that it does look weirdly brown in this version.
Yeah. But it's funny because I didn't, when I shot it, I didn't notice her hair like that. I'm like, boy, this sure is a weird hairstyle. Did she have that the whole time? I mean, I don't remember this at all. This is when I'm editing the photo, and then sure enough, I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, her hair was not like that before.
So I guess knowing what we know from talking to you about how they approve stuff and you have to send them things to be able to show them to the world, can you walk us through why maybe you chose this one?
Oh, to send them?
Because you had to send them to. Why would you ask for this one to be approved?
I thought the expression was good.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like it seemed relatively clean. I mean, you do see somebody in the background over there to the right a little bit, but the forum, depending on where the angle, you got some really nice black backgrounds. So I thought that was a cool shot. There were I sent a little over 20 photos, and so I had like maybe 3 or 4 shots of Sue, and they give you a limit on the number of photos you took. I mean, you send them for approval, mainly because I'm guessing because back in 2014, some dumb photographer sent them 62 photos to approve, and I got an email back saying, "Can you cut this down a little bit so we can look at some of just the best ones?" I'm like, oh, sorry, it's my bad.
It's my first concert.
So it made me chuckle a little bit when I actually saw that there is a limit to the number of photos they're going to look at.
Okay. And this is dealing with 5B or Amuse USA.
In 2014, I dealt with Nora. Some of the older fans know who Nora is.
Wow.
Yeah, and maybe some of the new fans know her as well.
That's
as
amazing.
I recall, back then she was not the tour manager status. So my photos actually, I'm assuming, ended up going to Koba, mainly because the back and forth was like, well, they're on tour right now. The manager's obviously busy because they're doing whatever wherever they were. I forgot where they ended up going, Sonosphere or something like that. After that, so. It's going to take some time. It actually took maybe the first set of photos was no problem. I asked them, hey, can I use some of these for my social media? And then that took weeks for them to even get back to me. And they didn't really give me anything else until that second publication said, hey, we'd like to use some photos as well. And then they approved some more. But yeah, that was Nora. So, I mean, she was great. She was very, helpful. And whenever I would keep bugging her, I didn't want to keep bugging her, but I did, and she, they'll hopefully have some time next week, blah, blah, blah.
No kidding.
So in this year, obviously they're a little bigger and they're a little more organized. So I had 2 different people looking at the photos, one from Amuse and one from Toys Factory, as I recall.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
I'm surprised at the slow turnaround, though. I mean, because don't the articles about these usually come out almost immediately after the concert?
Right. Yeah. So for the newspaper, when I sent them in that day, I got something back.
Uh-huh.
And that was, I sent them the photos, I think that night or early the next morning. And we got a approval on the 4 photos quickly.
Uh-huh.
And, same thing today. In this year, it was quick. And it makes sense, just like you said, the newspapers need to come out with their stories. So I wasn't really on a big deadline or anything, but they got back really quick. Now, when I asked about my personal social media back in 2014, that was, well, we care about this guy.
Yeah.
Who is this guy, right? So that took a little while.
Yeah.
Like I said, until another publication was interested in photos. And then they got back to me right away on that one.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Do you actually, I don't know how this normally works even, but what are your rights with these photos now? I mean, are they something that you could sell a print of, or do they belong to Rafu Shimpo, or how does that intellectual property stuff work out?
The photos are mine. I mean, unless the contract itself states that, they own the rights to all the photos, which, any photographer should not sign that away.
That's what I've heard. Yes.
They are yours. Yeah. I mean, usually if you're shooting for publication, they have rights to the photos to distribute them. But you still own the rights to the photo. So even though somebody commercially says, hey, I want to buy that photo, you're, through like the publication or whatever, you're still going to get compensated for that because they're partly your rights as well. They're going to take a cut, obviously, but you actually still own the photo.
Cool. It's possible. We've seen a little bit of expression of interest of this in our live chat room. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
now as for me, as for buying the photos, that may be a little difficult. Whether or not Rafu is somebody that you can talk to about that, you can try. Hey, if somebody wants to pay me money, great. But yeah, I'm not going that route because I'd like to keep shooting for them. I'd like to keep shooting Baby Metal.
Sure.
If you're, if you sign a contract, and that's what you got to adhere to.
Sure.
Other photographers, that's, you do what you do. Some of them will ignore the contract and publish 75 photos. Here's my 75 photos of Baby Metal that I have to shoot.
Yeah, to be honest,
that's more power to them.
There's a particular photo shoot that I'm fairly convinced is basically the compliment, like all of the ones that were not approved, because they are just something. But
so you should see these.
Just out of curiosity, what do you think about John McMurtry selling all of these prints? Is this something he's doing with the blessing of Team Baby Metal, or do you think he's just kind of gone rogue?
I really don't know. I would think somebody that is that involved in the scene and knowing what he's doing and been doing this for so long, that he probably got a contract to not have to worry about being limited to what he can do with those photos. And like I said, in 2014, there wasn't a contract for the concert, so there may very well have not been a contract for the photos for a photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing there must have been. You would think, just because it's something very formal like that. But I'm guessing, John probably has rights to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what I'm inferring from that is you could in fact sell us prints from 2014.
Again, I shot for the Rafu Shimpo, so all inquiries can go to the Rafu Shimpo.
Yeah, although that's probably good too, in a way. That will show them that they were wise to have hired you, right?
They're doing us a favor here as well as letting us show off the photos that were approved and allowing me to shoot. I wouldn't be shooting any of these concerts without them.
Yeah.
So I think there might be one more that that I saw it go by. We sort of started the slideshow up as we went off onto other topics, but there was one more that I kind of wanted to just point out or point to. I don't know what number it is though, but it's it's sort of the side shot of Papaya.
That one?
That's exactly it. So this one is this. I think it might actually be the last one, but it's sort of like a side. It's really just straight, from the side. But now I guess we understand why it was straight from the side, because you were very far away.
Yes,
but
definitely.
But it's clearly during Papaya, you can kind of see that from the choreography and the fact that we have the sparks coming out of the bottom of the stage, which are coolly actually also on the screen behind them. So
right. So I wanted to kind of incorporate the screen at some point. So when they had the crazy patterns in Shanti Shanti Shanti, I went kind of wider to make sure that I used that which, those shots did not get approved. Mm-hmm. But in this one, I was hoping for like the crowd in the background waving the towels or something like that. So I was waiting for a moment for something on the background. On the screen. Mm-hmm. And that one came up and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Cause at least it kind of gives you a weird sense of place.
Yeah.
Right. With these sparks, at first you don't understand that those sparks are actually on a screen.
Right.
Sure.
So I thought it was kind of cool to include. Oh, I was more kind of trying to get in the people waving the towels, but there just was too much. You can even see how the girls are a little overexposed. I was just trying to get more exposure on the people with the towels, and I didn't want to brighten it up too much because then the bottom of the stage was really gonna look kind of goofy. Mm-hmm. So outline of them didn't work out. So.
Yeah, but the silhouette of all the waving towels looks great too. So
yeah, if you know that that people are waving towels, it works. But as just somebody looking at the photo, you kind of lose that, unfortunately.
Yeah. So the thing that I guess that was interesting about this is just that this shot is different. Like, I guess I said before, like we've seen a lot of the same kind of shots due to what they approve. But, and this fits in what they approve, presumably, but it's unlike, it's sort of different from a lot of the other ones we've seen. So I definitely like that about this one.
Thanks. Yeah. It's separate. It's really different from the standard stuff that they have, where it would be just really a close up of the three of them.
Yeah.
Right.
This actually kind of looks like it looks like it's from the side, but you were pretty dead center, weren't you?
We're off to the left.
No, that's still off to the left.
Obviously, the closer they come to us, the more to the side we're going to be.
Right, I see.
But this is still pretty far back. So yeah, we're still to the left of center. That's why it looks like it's to the left.
Yeah.
As I recall, the section over there underneath them with the fire, I think that flat part was center, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think that's either that or in between the two sections is center. I don't remember what was facing you guys.
Well, if you just look at the scissor lifts, you can tell what direction they're driving in, and that he's off to the left.
Okay, yeah, I don't think, as far as I know, I've talked about all the ones that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
But this is great. I it's wonderful to hear about all of this and to see these. So I'm glad, that we actually have a chance to see them, since not many were selected for actual publication.
Yeah,
I'm glad to show them off.
Some great photos. I'm glad I got to see them.
Thanks.
We have some questions that have come through the chat.
Oh, great.
Cryptid has asked a question from Toby in the UK. I'm thinking of getting a Panasonic GH5 for YouTube and travel photography, but I have been interested in concert photography for a while. Would I need different lenses for those two different kinds of photography?
So concert photography as in from the photo pit. I'm not really familiar with the Panasonic brand, unfortunately, sorry. But, the top level cameras are going to be obviously your best shot. The problem is they're really, really expensive. You can go down as long as you're not into the low consumer level. And, so for the Canon, since I shoot Canon, the 7D, would work out the 6D, even the 5D Mark 4s and 3s and 2s, they're full frame cameras. And so they're going to be able to let in a lot more light than a crop sensor camera. And that's really what you need when you get low light. So for a lot of the stuff for concerts, if you got great light coming at, shining on the subject, then the camera body really doesn't come into play. But rarely is there good light in concerts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the arena show is a lot better. I mean, there's a lot more white light that they used. But yeah, especially when you go to these small areas, small concerts where, they're playing in the dark, it's just tough. It really is. So you really need some good camera equipment. And like I said, Bandmate played in the dark. They played 2 nights. First night they played in the dark. I got 1 picture. 3 songs. I had I had 1 picture that out of that whole thing. They put us in this at the soundboard. So there was, I have a 1DX, and nothing would come in focus because you're so far away. You can't focus on anything.
Mm-hmm. So another question from Toby. Has a crowd surfer ever sailed over the barricade and collided with you? Screw up your shot or igniting the flames or anything like that?
Thankfully, no. Nobody's complained. Then again, I try not to get in people's way. When I'm moving from side to side, there were moments where I'm shooting for the group or the organizer. So then I had free reign of the whole photo pit. I'm crouched down instead of just walking in front of everybody to move from point to point. No crowd surfers. Usually at the beginning, there's not a lot of them, I guess, because I don't know.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I guess, that sounds right.
Like, Kenji, Mr. Baby Metal fan, he doesn't want to crowd surf till the end because just in case, they throw him out, then, you're covered. You've seen most of the show.
Sure.
But yeah, that has not happened yet. And thank God I can see that happening. Like I said, when I shot, it was a silent siren that I was photographing, and there's not a lot of crowd surfing going on in silent siren, so I didn't have to worry about that either.
That's cool. Out of curiosity, are you thinking at all about, like, this is, I guess, is maybe less as a photographer and more as just like a baby metal fan? Are you thinking at all about like going to see any show in Japan in particular? There's this 10th anniversary coming.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully Fox Day, they will actually tell you what they're going to do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I am planning on going. I hope. I've been to one show in Japan. That was the Tokyo Dome shows. And those were fantastic.
I guess if you're going to go to one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. Yeah, because one of the guys I know, he goes, when they play, this was after the LA show. When they play Tokyo Dome, we got to go. It's like, yeah, right, okay, whatever. And sure enough, within 2 years, they're playing Tokyo Dome. And I'm like, oh, man, all right, well, you said we got to go, so let's go. I'm in. And he said, there's an Ozzy Osbourne concert that weekend, and one of my friends is coming down from Canada. I can't go to Baby Metal. So he missed out on the Tokyo Dome show. Sadly, a huge fan, and he couldn't go. But I was there, so that worked out for me.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I guess we've been recording for a while now. Yeah. We'll kind of get towards the end here, but just I'm sure there's people wondering: do you have any tips for fans, concert goers who want to pull their phone out and try and get a picture of what's going on stage?
Turn it sideways.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Yes, the video people need to turn it sideways. For regular photos, generally you're not going to zoom in. It's not an optical; it's a digital zoom. So even though it may look good, especially when people are moving, it's going to be tough. So you got to be close for a phone. Mm-hmm. The other thing is the lighting. The lighting is usually bad. If the white light comes up and you get a nice bright stage, you can get a good shot because the light is your friend. And hopefully some of the poses that they do where they're not moving very much, that will help out as well, because usually with that low light, your shutter speed on your camera phone is going to be slow. I'm shooting at, I think the lowest I would shoot would be, it's for Baby Metal at least, was like 1/400th because they're moving around so much. Now, if I went down to 1/250th, 1/200th, you know, what I can get some more shots. But even at 1/400th, I had photos that were just a little bit of motion blur in their eye or something like that, and it just, you know, not usable,
right?
At least for publication wise. For you though, you know, it's people have a real connection with their phone, their own pictures. So I mean, I could take a great picture of the group. You can take a picture of the group that is, you know, a little blurry because they were moving around, but you're gonna love that photo because you have a connection with it, right? You're there. It reminds you of the concert, why you were there, you know, that particular moment, what was going on, and you know, you can't replicate that if somebody else is taking that shot. It's the same thing with sports photography, right? You know, you have people shooting from the stands, you know, they don't have good equipment, but they're going to love those photos because they took it. They have that connection with it. So you know, things are going to be a little blurry. Things might be a little overexposed. You know, if you like it, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And then, do you have any advice for any aspiring photographers out there who may want to get into concerts or sports or try and go pro in some other way?
I kind of want to get into more concerts too, to be honest with you. You know, a lot of it is networking. I mean, first off, you got to do the job. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying, okay, I know, you know, this X guy and I can get into this doesn't make you a photographer. You have to understand what the job entails. You know, if you come out and get access and then come out with a whole bunch of crappy shots, you know, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Right.
You know, you have to show people what you can do. You know, like I said, I met the USA Today guy maybe 2 years before he actually offered me a job. You know, it wasn't like, oh yeah, we could use somebody. You know, your stuff is great. I still had to work at it. I still had to make sure that I could do the job. So, I mean, first and foremost, that's what it is. Second, you should network as much as possible. You never know where that job's coming from. You never know who you're going to talk to that might need somebody to come out and shoot. So, you know, I'm not somebody that really does a lot of that, you know, but there are many others that do. If the more personable you are, the more honest you are about yourself and go out and show yourself and talk to people, the better off you're going to be. You know, a lot of it ends up being who you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have you know, presumably a portfolio that you show people who are interested in potentially hiring you, or people who you would like to be interested in hiring you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
One question that came up somewhere in our chat. Oh, it's also from Toby, but is whether, I assume that you can't use your non-approved photos even in your own portfolio, can you? Or can you?
Publicly, probably not. Well, publicly, I probably can. But I generally will not use these photos unless it's privately.
Yeah.
So if a client is you know, wants to know, hey, you know, what have you shot recently? Or then can I see some of your your concert photography? Then I can show them a set of shots,
right.
And these would be in there, and other ones that I didn't get approved. Now, you know, obviously, if that's going out in the public, I'm not going to show them that type of stuff. There would be other shots that I could like any of the ones that we showed today.
Right.
So yeah, it's not. That's what I really should put together on my website a concert folder. It's all sports and some nature stuff. But yeah, I'm still kind of building it. I don't know if I've gotten enough to really say, you know, this is a nice portfolio that I would want to show off. It's more of people that I would have to show privately.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if, I mean, so it doesn't sound like you've done too many different groups yet in concert photography. So it's a little hard to know, you know, what the different restrictions would be on them. But I would assume that, you know, some are much less restrictive on what they're going to approve and some are more. And, it just seems like it's a little bit unfair for your, hireability to suffer, your portfolio to suffer from their
especially with the Japanese groups. Yeah, with the Japanese groups especially, they want final say on stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just Baby Metal. So, you have to take that into account.
Mm-hmm. Kevin is correct, though, that the clock is ticking terribly
Definitely.
fast.
Wow.
Yeah. Often it winds up being, 2 hours in, and, I hadn't noticed it go by at all. But so are there any other things that, either we should have asked about or anything else that anyone here wanted to ask?
Would it be considered rude to ask about the pay?
Depends on the client. So for some, the pay is generally not good. For most, the pay is generally not good. For other things like this, some of this stuff I will do for free. I mean, you're building a portfolio, and that's that's a talking point in photography. Sometimes some people feel that you should not be shooting for free at all, because you are taking away people's jobs. Mm-hmm. And I look at it as, if I'm shooting for free, what am I doing? I'm not going to Rolling Stone and say, hey, I'll shoot this for free, because they already have a photographer that would be shooting that concert. Now, Baby Metal, if I'm shooting for for Rafu Shimpo, they're not sending anybody. Who am I hurting other than taking a spot in the photo pit? Mm-hmm. So, depends on what it is. I mean, for me, you really need to do a lot of networking. And if you don't get out there, you're not doing it. As much as social media is prominent, people that are making decisions are generally not doing it through social media. Very, very rarely are you getting a job because you post all your photos on social media. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of who you know, and then people that know how to do the job.
Makes sense. All right.
Is it so? At the end of it, is it sort of, what am I trying to ask? I guess my question was whether you get sort of paid for the gig itself, or do you get paid for by photo, or
generally an assignment fee. Yeah. So you're assigned the gig, and you go out and shoot it, and that you get paid for that, and whatever photos that you give them. Sometimes they want X photos, X number of photos. So you give them that, and then extra, you may get paid extra if they want some of these other ones.
Okay.
But for the most part, yeah, you give them what you can, and they give you a flat fee.
Yeah, that seems, I'm glad it works that way, just because, given that, already the Baby Metal team has cut it down to whatever. And then, Rafu Shimpo themselves picked one. I was hoping that they weren't just paying you for one.
Right. Yeah. That's a little different. But there are times when you shoot for spec or shoot on spec. Uh-huh. So you don't get paid, but you get paid by the photo.
Yeah.
That still exists.
Right. So if people had questions for you or wanted to get in touch in any way, or just look at your output, do you have any sort of social media outlets or a website or anything like that people should look for?
Yeah, my website's Dyama-photo, DYAMA photo.com. That doesn't get updated very regularly, but Instagram is probably the way that you would go to see mostly of my sports shots. I will post some concert stuff when I get to, since I don't shoot too many of them. And the J-Pop Festival hasn't happened in 2 years. That's where a lot of my shots would end up being taken as well. So that is Dyama-photo as well on Instagram. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, so I think I am about ready to close this off then. Thank you so much, Darren, for coming and talking us through this. This is
thank you.
Huge fun.
A lot of fun.
Learned a lot about cameras.
This has been great.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I learned a lot I didn't know.
Right.
I don't know if that was the point of having me on, but
hey, it's a win-win.
I'm glad that it helped somebody.
Yep. So I'm not actually sure what we're doing next time, but we'll announce it in advance for the next episode. But I'm really liking this format. So when there's not a big news topic to talk about, I guess pretty soon we're coming up on Fox Day. But
we are indeed.
When do we record next?
Are we going to get Baby Metal face masks?
We record 3 days before Fox Day next.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about speculating about the future and how difficult that is and stuff, but and also about how we're hoping on Fox Day we will learn something about the 10/10/2020 event.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, what a mess. Well, still looking forward to Fox Day anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, but I will land the plane, as it were.
Yes.
So that's it for this episode. You can join us on the Baby Metal Podcast Discord to continue the conversation. Rating the podcast on whatever platform you listen on will help people find it, so please do that. We'll be back here in about 2 weeks, and we'll hope you join us then. And until then, see you.